Hitler thought that the conquest of Norway would be an overnight job. However, in spite of the treacherous attack, it took him 62 days with a loss of more than 60,000 men and 1/3 of his fleet to occupy the country. And Hitler's well-known new order had also arrived in Norway. But Hitler never conquered the Norwegian people. From the ruins grew a new hope for a free Norway. Volunteers constantly arrive at this training center, having been through a hard school before they were even able to enlist. First, the difficulty of escape from Norway, facing the horrors of Gestapo torture and execution if discovered. Compared with these difficulties, even the long journey ahead seemed easy. Many traveled thousands of miles along devious routes, braving hardships and dangers. Thousands escaped across the border to Sweden. Then, by help of Norwegian official channels, they were able to continue through Russia, Siberia, and Japan, and further on Norwegian boats to the east coast of the United States. After Japan started to make difficulties with transit, new routes were taken, mainly through India. Hundreds got caught when the war started in the Near East. But along devious new routes, they still managed to reach the ocean, where in all larger seaports, they found Norwegian ships sailing for the Allies that took them to England or the United States. It took them from months to a year to reach their destination, traveling with all kinds of transportation, not to forget on foot, and going through hundreds of hardships and endless adventures. Still, among the boys in Little Norway, that was considered the easy way. The hard way was escaping across the North Sea. From all along the Norwegian coast, thousands escaped in small fishing boats, eluding German U-boats, mines, and German patrol planes, managing to reach England or the Shetland Islands across the stormy, tumultuous North Sea. Some even crossed the Atlantic in frail crafts that were mere miniatures, even compared with the Viking ships of 1,000 years ago. A crossing of the Atlantic was made in a leaky 32-foot boat. And one man started out alone from Lofoten Island and managed to reach England in a small rowboat, a distance of more than 800 miles. Hundreds upon hundreds of young Norwegians were arriving at the RNAF training camp. More barracks were built. And Little Norway was an appropriate name for the camp on the shores of Lake Ontario at Toronto. It is a 100% Norwegian training center, built and organized by leading officers in the Royal Norwegian Air Force with funds earned by the Norwegian Merchant Marine. From the same source, the Norwegian government also pays all training expenses, including planes and other equipment. A ferry connects the camp with Island Airport, leased by the Norwegians for their main training field. All training planes are American-built. The bombers and fighters, about $20 million worth, were bought by the Norwegian government before the war, but were delivered too late to be used during the campaign in Norway. Now they make excellent training material. The blue and yellow Fairchild training planes you see here were bought later with funds from the Norwegian Merchant Marine, and some of them with funds contributed by Norwegians or friends of Norway in South America and in the United States. They are used for elementary training. These Douglas attack bombers are used for advanced training. Curtiss fighters, also for advanced training. Northrop patrol bombers, also used in action by Norwegian squadrons overseas. Most of the men, of course, want to become pilots. But in a modern Air Force, at least 10 men are needed on the ground for everyone in the air. Ground crews are as important as pilots to the fighting efficiency of the force. They go through extensive training for their many special jobs. The mechanics are trained not only for daily routine work, but for complete overhaul and repair of the planes. This is a group of fledglings from the elementary training class. Before the student pilots take to the air, they have to spend several weeks in schoolrooms with the theory of aviation. Now the teacher gives them a last demonstration with a model plane before they get the first lesson in the air, practicing takeoffs and landings. A perfect landing. If the student pilot did this himself, well, then he may get the plane alone next time. And the names on these planes indicate that they are gifts bought with funds contributed by Norwegians or friends of Norway in South America or in the United States. Here, Crown Princess Martha of Norway opens the christening ceremony for a number of gift planes. 5-year-old Prince Harold, and he seems to be quite proud of performing his first official act. Princess Ragnhild wants to have a share in it, too. And Princess Astrid.